what's up guys? Chief here from Chief Live Gaming. Today expanding on a topic we started in a different video, which is hyperaggression and the idea of gaining momentum. Gaining momentum in the game of 40K, using that to our advantage, doing it very quickly, very fast, and letting our opponent, not letting our opponent get any kind of edge or advantage or breathing room in the game. So we're crashing their lines very quickly. We're trying to make them feel overwhelmed and discouraged a little bit maybe. Again, we're not trying to get in our opponent's head and make them feel like crap, but we're trying to make them feel overwhelmed. Push them very quickly. And the idea is maybe they'll make some poor decisions, they'll respond poorly, and you can capitalize. That's a very simple concept. So, if you guys missed part 1, this is part 2. Go back, watch part 1. I'll put it in the description. Put it in the description of this video. Go back, watch part 1. Come back here, watch part 2. Do it. Do it now. Go. Welcome back. Thanks for watching part 1. If you guys also want to check out the description of this video, there's a table of contents there. You can jump around all different kinds of parts of this video, get right to what you want to know, and stop listening to the rest of me blabbering on about nonsense. Because I like to do that. I tend to do that. It's okay. So, let's just recap really quick about where we left off. Abridged version of part 1. Part 1, we talked about a hyper-aggressive army, moving forward extremely quickly, turn 1, boxing our opponent into the deployment zone, and this depends on a couple factors. We may or may not want to do this at all, but if we do choose to do it, we know that we have a good window of opportunity in the early points of this game to grab that momentum, take what belongs to us for the glory of the Dark Gods. Or whatever army you're playing. Which is always should be chaos, because chaos is awesome. Chaos is the best. It's chaotic. So, that's the general idea. That's the general idea. So let's go over a couple scenarios. And again, guys, remember, this is all dependent on your game, your opponent, their army list, their style of play. You don't want to do this every game. It's not going to work every game. Some games, you come to the table and you have no chance of making this work. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And there's 2 scenarios I want to go over. The first scenario, and this is the case where this style will not work very well, is when they bring an army to the table that puts a lot on the board turn 1 and or has a lot of shooting. Just think of Tau or Imperial Guard. Similar to that. They have a lot of stuff on the board. They're not holding a lot in reserves. So when you charge forward, they have a lot of their army to respond and deal with your threats. It's not going to work the best. It's not going to work very well. It could still work, but you're going to have a little bit harder time. Now, scenario 2, this is where we can really make this happen. Scenario 2 is somebody who comes to the table and holds a lot of their army back in reserves. Holds a lot of their army in reserves. Think about that. So somebody that brings to the table, I don't know, we'll say 1,500 to 2,000 points, and they're holding back a quarter of their army in reserves. They're holding back a third of their army in reserves. You're talking about 300, 400, 500 points worth of models, not even on the table turn 1. What does that mean for us? That means when we move forward super aggressively with our unified front of fast attack and beasts and goodness, when we have that unified front, they only have 70% of their army to respond to all the threats we're giving them. Very important to understand. So, that's when you want to use this kind of a strategy. That's when you want to make this kind of an army really work for you. Scenario 2, remember that. So, going forward from this point, we're going to assume that it's a game like I've discussed for scenario 2. They're holding back things in reserves because that's really when we want to be using this kind of a strategy anyway. So, moving forward, guys. We've moved into their deployment zone and we're sitting there with the unified front. Very aggressive front, in charge range when it comes to their turn, for sure. For sure. Very dangerous point in the game for us as a style of an army. It comes to your opponent's turn. Again, we're using the example where we go first. You could go second. It doesn't make a huge difference, but we do try to want to try to go first because it is helpful. It is helpful. So Here's what's in your opponent's head, most likely. Most likely. They see a lot of stuff. We're talking about 7, 8, 9 units in their front line. Very close, dangerously close to their deployment zone. Dangerous. They're not expecting that. Nobody's expecting that, right? So we've broken out of the norm of their plan, like we talk about. They have a plan coming to the table, but it's all gone now because all this crap is right there in their face. There are immediate threats that they have to deal with. They weren't planning on dealing with. You know, you bring something like las cannons to the table, you want to shoot vehicles in the back. You want to shoot out their heavy support, but you can't at this point. You cannot do that. Because if you do, yeah, you might kill the heavy support, but then the melt-a-gun bikes are coming up and blowing up your rear armor next turn. The Power Fist is going to charge you and kill you next turn. You have to deal with the immediate threats. And the idea is that this is so far out of the norm for your opponent that they'll make these decisions. They have to make them quick. It's 40k. You can't sit all day and wait. And they will make poor decisions, maybe make mistakes, overcommit, too much shooting to one unit to try to wipe it out. When really there are so many threats, so much target saturation, that the idea is that they can't deal with all of your threats. They just can't. Especially because, remember, they're holding some of their army in reserves. They don't even have their whole army to deal with these threats. Some key units might not even be on the board. So, this point of the game, very important terminology to remember and to keep in the forefront of your mind. Acceptable losses. Acceptable losses, guys. Don't forget that. You might want to stretch out, do some arm circles, you know, some stretching of your arms, because you're going to need to reach across the table, pull off some models. They're going to die this turn. Okay, that's just the way it is. Accept it. It's acceptable losses. That's what it is. That's their job. Just remember, don't be sad. Don't be sad. The norm of 40k is we want to protect our units. They're nice and safe, and we don't want them to die. This army, you will lose things very quickly. It's okay. It's going to work out, hopefully, for us. So, our opponent responds, however that might happen. It's so hard to quantify this style of a game in theory without a good example on the table. And I may actually, at the end of this video series for you guys, make sort of a mock game so you guys can see a lot more clearly what I'm talking about, all this theory. But I think we all are okay understanding this, right? So, our opponent responds. We lose a lot of crap. It's okay. Now turn 2 comes along. Turn 2. So, you forced all these defensive reactions. What have we done? We've gained some momentum. Our opponent is not able to execute their plan. They're reacting. We are forcing the flow of the game. We are controlling the flow of the game at this point, which is great. That's what we want. Turn 2 comes along. Say we're going first. This is the charge phase. We're ready now. Things are happening like our rhinos are disembarking our berserkers. They're getting ready. They can't charge this turn because they've disembarked from a transport, which is very sad. But they're ready for our second wave. And the rest of our stuff, maybe our bikes with meltas, bikes with flamers, are running in, doing some damage. If you've got meltas, you're going to blow stuff up this turn. Maybe a rhino gets popped. A tank gets blown up. Some heavy support slots get blown up. You will do damage this turn with your meltas. That's why I highly recommend them. The rest of your beasts, your monstrous creatures, are coming on the board also. But your beasts are going to charge into close combat. Your blood crushers, your flesh hounds, your chaos spawn. These things are charging into combat. Now, a few things are probably weakened from your opponent's shooting phase. So maybe they don't wipe out the unit they're charging. Or maybe they even die. Maybe you charge with a couple units that are still at full strength, and because they're meant to charge, maybe you wipe out a couple of your opponent's units, or one. That's great. But the absolute ideal situation that could happen at this point in the game right now is you charge somebody with stuff, don't wipe them out. Absolute ideal, 100%, which is very unlikely situation, would be you charge, say attack squad of 10 Marines, you kill all but a couple in your assault phase. Now think about what this means. You're locked in close combat. When it comes to your opponent's turn, they can't shoot you. They can't shoot you because you're in close combat. Then it comes to their assault phase. You finish wiping out the unit, consolidate, and then it comes to your turn again. You're free to move, free to make another assault, and you want to keep doing that. So very interesting dynamic with assault armies. Think about that. It's really important. That is one of the main strategies that you need to grasp and master with an assault army, is that concept, that whole thought I just mentioned. I don't know what to call it. Not wiping out your opponent with an assault, unless that's what is necessary. So I think about 11 and a half minutes. I think that we could end this video. I still have quite a bit I want to talk about, but that's kind of still expanding on my basic thoughts for this army, this style. Next video, I might even record that now and just upload it in a couple days. But the next video, we're going to talk about things like why it's so beneficial for this style if your opponent has a lot in reserves. Why that's so good, what that means. Pretty basic, but we'll go over it. We're going to continue kind of talking through the rest of the game, ideal situations, what you're looking to do, what you're looking to have happen. Might not always work, but continue going over the plan that we're trying to establish. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have. I appreciate hearing your thoughts. Thanks for watching if you made it all the way through. Stick around. We're going to continue. We do also a lot. You can maybe see some stuff behind me here. That building over there. We're doing tutorials on... Oh, there's Defi. Tutorials on stuff like that. We're doing a lot of Nurgle conversion work. If any of that sounds interesting to you guys, hit subscribe. I'd appreciate the help. Appreciate the support. And you can see all kinds of cool 40K stuff. Everybody wins. Almost everybody wins. Alright guys, have a great day. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye now.